Join us on the Path Radio Mix online. And to get there, type in thepathradio.com. That's thepathradio.com. And enjoy free streaming music all day long. That's it. thepathradio.com. All right, now let's get to the main show, the Monthly Social Podcast, with me, your host, Guido Perino, as you go on with Guido. Welcome, everyone, to Season 4, Episode 1. It's 2023. Happy New Year! Let's kick things off with the multi-talented country music star, TV host, and media coach, Amy Scruggs. Then we'll catch up with registered hypnotist Monique, who gives us insights on New Year's resolutions and hypnosis as well as health. Following that, Jess Gurnsey joins us to talk about her horrific accident and auto insurance experience. It could be you. Next, multi-billboard artist Franklin McKay gives us his new release, This Ain't the End, along with a special holiday interview that debuted on thepathradio.com. Let's get the new year going. Let's go! Now, before we get going, a quick word from one of our friends of the podcast, Johnny Prosciutto. Johnny Prosciutto, artisanal Italian homemade products. We make it like our grandfather, or as we say, Nonno. Naturally cured, old-fashioned, and delicious. Order online at johnnyprosciutto.com, and we deliver right to your front door, where the only thing left for you to do is enjoy it with your friends and family. That's johnnyprosciutto.com. Boy, that Johnny Prosciutto is good. I had my holiday Johnny Prosciutto, and shared that with family and friends, and it was really good. If you get a chance, check it out. Put your order in and leave a little note to Anthony over at Johnny Prosciutto and say, hey, I heard Guido talking about it. Give me some good stuff here, and he will. He'll take care of you. Anthony's a really good guy. So 2022 is in the books. So welcome back. Welcome back to the Monthly Social. Thank you so much for being here in 2022. I hope you're back for 2023, the whole season, and I hope you enjoy it. And of course, you can always reach out to me at tms@guidoprino.com. Most of the holidays are now behind us. New Year's resolutions coming up. We're going to talk a little bit about that later today. A lot of exciting stuff happening here on the show still too. Revamped the guidoprino.com site that hosts a lot of content information for the podcast. So if you go there along the top menu screen, you'll see an item that says podcasts, and under there you can see the podcast universe, a little bit about the podcast, the catalog, the back catalog. So season 3, which is last season, has been cataloged with information and links. Season 2 and surprise will be coming with season 1, which you can't find anywhere online right now, and there's reasons for that, but we're gonna look at providing that in the catalog. There's also the podcast charts of 2022 as well as all time, which shows you some of the episodes. The podcast store, which has our guests who have been on the show and provide some product or service. You can see that there, as well as some really cool t-shirts that I put out for the podcast, some funware, if you will, and some other things. So check that out. There's a Be a Guest link and also a Help Us link. So a lot of things happening there that are exciting. Some stuff happening with the pathradio.com as well. And you can use guidoprino.com as the springboard for that. Now, I have a lot of content for kicking off January 2023, and I want us to get to that. So let's go do that. Let's go listen to, we're going to kick things off with Amy Scruggs. TV host of The American Dream. She's a media coach and public speaker, best-selling author, recording artist, having shared the stage with greats like Trace Atkins, Clint Black, Charlie Daniels, Little Texas, Phil Vassar, and more. I am talking about Amy Scruggs, and she is here on the Monthly Social Show. Welcome, Amy. Happy New Year. Thanks for being here. How are you?
Happy New Year. I have been looking forward to this so much. What a great way to kick it off, right?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. You know what? And I got to say, folks don't know when we set these things up, right? this almost didn't happen, right? It almost didn't happen because we were exchanging emails. I went through a little bit of an email change or whatever, and I was like, I'm not hearing from Amy. But you know what? Thank goodness we still know how to use a phone.
Yep.
Right?
Brilliant.
Pick up the phone and say, hey, right? So it worked out, and I'm so happy about that. I got to ask you something. I don't mean it the way it sounds, but am I talking to a real California girl?
Yes, born and raised Southern California. Still here to this day. I'm in San Diego now. Have been for the last 11 years.
So does that mean are you
in flip flops? Yes.
Always?
Yes.
Are you earthquake proof?
Oh, I hate earthquakes. To some degree, but probably no. I am probably nowhere near as prepared as I should be. You never know when they're going to hit, and they still terrify me. But if I look at all of the different natural disasters around the country, especially, I'll still take the earthquakes. I don't want tornadoes. I don't want the hurricanes. I've thought through this, so I'm still good to take my risk if something flies off these walls.
Wow. Have you been in one, like a serious one or anything? Or?
Oh, there's been some big ones here in California. I mean, I'm not getting any younger now. I'm 50 now. So yes, I can recall quite a few that I'm still not thrilled about, but they're fine. Nobody was hurt, and thankfully nothing where I was right in the epicenter.
I'll stop complaining about the snowstorms here. So look, Amy, you have such a broad spectrum of entertainment talent. I'm going to try and get to all of those here today for everybody.
We can do it.
We can do it. We will do it. I want to start with your music. And I know people are being like, oh man, why is he going so far back? Right. You learned to play the piano. I'm a foundation kind of guy first, right? You learned to play the piano at the age of 4. And I'm thinking back when I was 4, I can only remember my grandfather, some family memories, maybe some small events. Do you remember your piano days at 4 years old, like as a child?
I absolutely do. I remember the day at that time we were at somebody's house, or friends of my parents. I don't know where we were, but I can still picture it when I crawled up on the piano bench and just started playing a song by ear. And they found me. They're like, what is she doing? Isn't this cute? It's like, uh-oh, we have something here. And so they immediately reached out and found a piano instructor for me. And she said, I'm sorry, she's too little. I can't take her yet. So they made me wait till I was 5 to take lessons because my hands were so little. Oh. So during that time, it was in there. The instinct was in there. I knew it was a part of me. I was already singing as well, but it wasn't until 5 that I officially started piano lessons. And I do remember it very well. Still in touch with my piano teacher to this day, thanks to social media.
Wow. You're 5. So when you're the teacher you had when you were 5?
Yes.
Wow. You didn't have a little
for 10 years.
You didn't have a little blanket like Linus on Peanuts with his friend Schroeder at the piano, right?
That would be funny, but no, I did it.
But if you did, what color would it have been?
Pink, of course.
Pink. All right. Makes sense. Looking back on that, how much do you think that your childhood music experience influenced what you would do? And again, I'm saying, looking back, throughout your life, how important were those early childhood moments with the piano and the music?
Ingrained in my DNA. I knew that music was what I was supposed to do. If you had asked me at 6 years old what I was going to be when I grew up, my answer was Barbara Mandrell. I knew that someday I was going to stand on those stages. I would watch music on television, artists on TV. I would watch the Country Music Awards even at a young age and go, oh, that'll be me someday. I'll be there someday. I knew it. I was speaking it to life as a young child. There was never a question about if, it was always when. And even when life threw me a lot of curveballs over the years, and you have a gaggle of kids, and it seems like, really, would it? I knew that they were still building blocks, that it was still there. There was never a question in my mind that the music would always be a root foundation of who I was, and it still will be for the rest of my life.
That's interesting. So would you say that, I think I'm hearing that no matter what, it was always plan A?
Yes.
Always plan A.
Always. And I was always singing. Yes.
Your music journey takes you to share the stage with, other notable performers. And I mentioned them in the intro, the Atkins, the Black, yes, the Charlie Daniels, etc. But before all of that, you're working in business. Mm-hmm. If I got this wrong, tell me. Yeah, I think
you got it right.
You were in real estate and sales. And I'm going, how and why do you go from sales to singing? What's the connection there?
Well, the singing was definitely there. So I was always performing. I was in cover bands, singing around Southern California in a great cover band. I was always in the church choir growing up, quartets, ensembles, you name it, music was there. But that wasn't paying me and it wasn't making a living. And like any other stage in life, you start having a gaggle of kids, they need to be fed. So money needs to come in to feed children. And in my late 20s, I was given a beautiful opportunity to step into the real estate and mortgage world because I needed to be able to bring in a solid foundation to provide for my kids and the household. So again, always singing, but I needed a real career. There was no question at that point. And I was able to step into sales. But what was fun about that is it still was a performance per se, because anytime you're in sales, you learn very quickly that effective communication, being comfortable in front of people, asking for the business, being able to walk in that door and be on and perform to say, I'm going to, not in a way that was not authentic, but in a way that was like, I'm going to let you see me. Just as a performer, we're letting you see who we are. We're raw when we're performing as artists. And so sales really came very naturally to me because I was already comfortable in front of people. And so that was an incredible opportunity. And in the time in the early 2000s, it was wholesale mortgage banking. It was huge. I mean, that was the time of the peak of mortgage. And I was thriving in that and went into top sales. And it was really an enjoyable time. And I met incredible people throughout that time while still singing and doing concerts in the park all over Southern California with the kids there on the blanket in the front row.
Now, you said you were in some cover bands. What was it? Was it country cover bands?
Yes, it was definitely country cover bands, and it was wonderful. One in particular, it was really just a fun group. And I would have to say that's definitely where I learned a lot of my stage presence as a performer, and getting used to reading the crowd. I think it was really an incredible experience that I was able to cut my teeth in for those years at learning myself as a artist, what my voice could do. It was really a nice expansion into learning myself as a musician and an artist.
It's interesting. You talk about stage presence and music stage presence, and then you just took us through a little bit of a talk about when you were doing the real estate. Mm-hmm. And there's a stage presence there, right? There's a stage presence in your real estate and a different one. How do those things compare? Like, and I know you talked about, look, I'm on and there's communication, but how do you compare those two things? Is one more intimate than the other?
I would say the intimacy really falls more on the music because it's my soul. Anytime that we're putting ourselves out there as artists, we definitely bear our soul. In sales, I'm hungry. I need to eat. I need to feed the family. And it's about that charge that you get when you succeed, needing to succeed. Very cutthroat industry, especially at that time in mortgage. There was a lot of competition. So for me, there was that strive to want to be the best. And also my boss, Liz, was amazing. She's the one that took a chance on me and brought me into the industry with no experience. I was so thankful to succeed for her as a thank you to her as I was to succeed for myself, because I realized that I was creating this network of people that believed in me. So I think it was really all encompassing, that it was just as intimate as far as the relationships that were being built, but not as vulnerable as it is for me to put myself out there in music.
So you're doing that, and then you're transitioning, you're doing the music thing at the same time, but you record your first album, and your first album right here, right now, that's around 2007.
Yes.
Was it?
2007, and there was a lot that took place. That's what they call the year of the shift. Things were going well. Mortgage was great. I was providing for the family, and we hit a huge recession in real estate and mortgage here in 2007. Yeah. And so that was where I said, okay, I have choices to make. I can drown, I can collapse, or I can use these same sales skills and business skills and music talent and go out and ask for the business as a recording artist. And that's where that transition took place, where I put a business plan together on how I was going to go out and find the right gigs to be at, where my kids could be with me, good paying gigs so that I could still support the household, and also enjoy it and do what I love with country music. And then also needed to record music. There was a lot that came together at that time. And it was literally a survival mechanism to one degree, but anytime we have a skill or a talent and tools in the tool belt, why not use them when life throws us a curveball? That was such a big fork in the road. And I was thrilled to go make it happen. And 6 months after that recession hit and I lost my job, everything changed. I was opening for Clint Black on a national stage on the 4th of July in Arizona. And I knew that I was going to be able to utilize that success and that win to go ask for more. Like any other business, you put a plan together. And those years that I had in sales really taught me that, on how to take that business plan and put it into music again.
What's incredibly, I've never heard an artist tell me that they put together a business plan for their music.
You have to run it as a business. Anything that we want to do and be successful at, you have to run as a business. And I remember my dear friend, he's still my A&R rep to this day, has believed in me for 18 years. I remember James Ray in Nashville. He said, Amy, the artists that succeed in this industry run it as a business. And he taught me that when I met him back in 2004, and it resonated. And he was right. He's still right to this day, and it is still the only way. You can't succeed without a plan. You can't succeed without a business plan, without those skills involved, or outsource and find the right people to do it. Now, a lot of artists go onto labels and then they get that team around them. Right. But some of them also then don't always make the right decision, or they get into contracts they're not happy with. You have to put that business head on and take charge of your business, as in anything else.
The title, Right Here, Right Now.
One of the songs that was on that album, and that album I do not even have out for anybody to hear. It was the first round. I was very low on my budget and the production quality that I could do, but it was a great song that was pitched to me by Chip Martin, and he had written it, and it was a great song, Right Here, Right Now, and I loved the tune, and so we made that the title track. I also did a remake of Somebody's Knockin'. That you can still hear. That's still out there floating around a little bit, and that was really fun to put together. It was a great learning curve for me. I got to work with some wonderful musicians, but it was definitely a first draft and not the dream project that I had always wanted. It was a learning curve, and it was something for me to at least have to go out and start touring and start figuring the rest out.
Are we going to hear you re-record it?
Most likely no. It's been too long, and I'm proud of it. Like any first draft of something, I feel like it sits in my little time capsule now. And I'm so thankful for the journey and the lessons learned and what I did right, what I did wrong, like anything else. But moving forward is always the best choice for me in anything that I'm doing. It's to take the lessons from before and continuing moving forward. Sending music, like the music we just did this last couple years, brand new music, so proud of it. Anything up ahead, it's going to be new music.
Okay. Now you talked about, I was going to say to you, how did you land your first big opening show? And I think you mentioned it was Clint Black, maybe.
Yes.
So that's the Who was it with? But how did you land that? And what do you remember? Like when you look back and for folks listening, hey, I just landed Clint Black, right?
Yes. You know, there's an amazing, powerful thing that a lot of individuals forget to do, and it's called ask for the business. And I went out and asked for the business. And this was a time before social media. This was a time before we were really using emails for things. This is 2007. I had a flip phone. And I put together a marketing package in manila envelopes, and I identified those places that were going to have opportunity, that I felt were going to be the best opportunities. I drove over to the casino that was hosting Clint Black for the 4th of July, knocked on the door, asked for the marketing manager, got an appointment right there on the spot, and said, I want to open this show. What's it going to take to make that happen? And 4 weeks later, I got a call that they said that he left a Post-it note for the next person that said, she's tenacious, let her open the show. I asked for the business and I got it.
That's an incredible
story. What if I hadn't asked?
100% of the shots, right? That you don't take, you're going to miss.
Exactly. And that was a perfect example. And what a great opportunity. That opened up my first morning show TV appearance. That started radio touring. It started everything. To everything that I'm doing today is because of that ask that day. Life-changing.
Incredibly life-changing, for sure. Amy, I want to take you back just briefly, if I may, because I feel like, and I'm being presumptuous here. You could say no, Guido, but I feel like you and I have a little something in common. And I'm going to say in our earlier growing up years, because I think we keep growing, right? It's life. We keep growing. But our earlier growing up years. And that was that there was a period in our lives where, maybe we took the quote path of least resistance, especially around school. And this is important for school kids who might be listening as well and going through their changes in life. Perhaps our effort didn't quite match our capabilities at a certain point.
So true.
Right? But what changed for you, in terms of the drive and the determination when you look back? And it's an important thing because, look, when I was growing up, there wasn't podcast didn't exist, and there was the things that I heard on the radio were quite limiting, and how we talk to each other. This social thing wasn't there, right? But now kids can tap into this. So when they hear us talk, it's important to them. They're learning from us, right? So
Yes.
What changed for you in terms of that drive and determination?
You definitely hit it head on. With school, was I capable of being the valedictorian? Absolutely. Did I choose to? Absolutely not. I took the path of least resistance in school. I even skipped a grade, so I graduated early. I just didn't feel it. I wanted to be in all music classes and speech and debate. And it's funny because I still am in touch with a few of my teachers to this day. And I go, by the way, guess what I do for a living? I do communications coaching. I do music. So there was something there that I knew instinctively. But what changed for me as far as finding that drive, it was number one, hunger, especially when you have mouths to feed. It was a necessity that took place. But the second thing is innately in me, and I know it's been there since the beginning, I am not afraid of failure. I'm afraid of regret. So I have no problem going and figuring it out, saying, let's make it happen. And when the industry shifted in 2007, when that took place and I lost that really great paying job in wholesale mortgage in that industry, I had a person close to my sphere that said, why don't you go back to waiting tables and do what you know? What are you going to do now? And I said, because I'm smart and I don't have to. I'm going to go make this happen. And so there was a drive in me to say, I can do that. I can do anything I put my mind to. So I chose not to do that in school, but in life, I have never chosen the path of least resistance. I will choose the hardest thing. And I'll fall on my face, but that's okay. That just means I get to get up and go try something else. And it's so fun is even when you read my bio at the opening, like, how does she do all of this? It's literally a continual movement of taking that shift and saying, I'm going to shift when life hits you, and also not being afraid of trying and not being afraid of failure.
I resonate with everything that you just said. And I mean, different paths that we took. But similar experiences with that in respect to that. I know when I talk to my mom, she's like, you're always on the go now. You're always doing something. You're always doing, and I'm not afraid of trying anything new. The worst thing that'll happen is I don't do it right and I get to do it again. But if I like doing it, I'm going to try doing it. And so, because I want to say I can do it, right?
Exactly. You know what the worst thing for me would be stuck. Stuck seems like that could be the worst possible outcome or option. Right. Stuck just isn't an option.
Sounds like it should be a song. Stuck.
It could be. Let's work on that.
I'm writing it down right now. And a big circle. Look, until 2012, you were on tour nationally full time. And I'm going to come back to your music in a bit. So folks who are tuning in, listening to find out more about you and your music, stick around because we're going to come back to that. But I want to understand around that time frame in 2012, you started transitioning, I think, to your own business.
Transitioned back. Mm-hmm.
Right. So you started doing business development, media coaching. Mm-hmm. For folks like, hey, you're on tour, you got the big lights, you're on the stage, you're mingling with other stars. What, not why, and made you switch gears? So I know why, right? Like you could say, well, I had to do this and I had to do that. But what was the trigger? What made you switch gears into that world at that point?
We had two major tragedies take place at the same time, and it was in 2011. And the first one was the kids and I, we lost our home. We were working really hard out there touring and putting it together. We were working with the military and veteran community. I was the spokesperson for American veterans. It still wasn't enough. And at that time, again, that adjustment was taking place from the recession. It just wasn't enough. We couldn't sustain. So we lost our home, and that was a huge shakeup for myself and the kids. And right after that, our bass player and dear friend suddenly died of a heart attack. And that was the where I said, it's time. We're pulling the plug. We need to grieve. We need to reset. I need to go rebuild. And I need to see how this is going to play out. Doesn't mean it's over. I mean, there was definitely some pain with that, no question. But again, that shift, am I going to drown and die, or am I going to make those adjustments? And it was also the trifecta was my youngest child was ready to start first grade. And she was really asking to not spend her grade school years on tour. I don't understand. So I had a youngest child who needed to anchor into school, a bass player that suddenly died, and we also had to move because we had lost our home. So those were the what's that took place. And sometimes life kind of pushes you through a door of making some new decisions. And I already had the sales skills. I already had that prior career, and that mortgage industry was starting to open back up again. So I placed myself in a position of being able to do business development and help coach other industry professionals for helping them with their sales and their business. And it was really an incredible opportunity to step back into that for a rebuild. And I was still performing on request. During that time, I was still singing the national anthem at stadiums. I had the opportunity to open for Tony Orlando and Chubby Checker and Frankie Avalon. So there were still some beautiful opportunities that came place during that time of rebuilding. And I had no idea how electric it was going to be and the doors that it was about to open. So thankful I walked through that door, even though it was painful.
You know, what's incredible about that is you went through this self-reflection arc and the self-awareness that you had to make that decision. And I think when we hear about artists who are in, you know, they hit that wall and they're just going to drive through it, right? Like right. They, you know, looking back and hitting that pause or retooling or they just, and it's a train wreck after, right?
Yes.
Where does the self-awareness in you come from at that moment to take that stock and go, it's okay if I know that road's here. I'm just going to take this little scenic tour. I'm going to get back there, but I'm going to go do this over here. Like that's an incredible amount of self-awareness and confidence to just say, I'm going to go do this. I have to go do this.
I think that there's a part of me as well that doesn't see time as this limit. That, I was 35, 36 at the time. That means everything's over. No, it just means I'm taking this detour. And if this is still my destiny, and if there is still beautiful opportunities in music ahead, then they're still going to be there ahead. But I have to make decisions. I'm modeling to children to persevere, to still provide. So there were decisions that had to be made as the head of these amazing kids that I have raised, was raising at the time at all different ages, and the drive to still succeed. Being proud of the sales career and the business career that I had, it wasn't difficult to go back into. I enjoyed that part of my life. So for me, I saw it as combining them back together. Before it was all sales and a little bit of music, then it became full-time music. And then now all I did was blend them back together to create more opportunities. And I didn't feel it was limiting. I knew that it was going to expand me.
Resiliency, perseverance, and adjusting, knowing when to adjust. Can you tell us a little bit more about your development and coaching business? Is it motivational foundation? Is it motivational service? Do you reach into other areas of communication, environment, awareness, readiness? What is, when we talk to Amy Scruggs and we're talking about this business, what's the full suite of services and who should use them?
Well, that's a fun answer. It kind of two-part. To begin with, yes, it's all strategic communications and media coaching. Everything from helping individuals know how they present themselves, from the body language, facial expressions, to the vocabulary, filler words, how they're presenting their branding, what their message is, how that's put together, interview skills, whether you're the host like yourself as an interviewer or whether you're on podcasts or in interviews all the time, how to do that. So it's very strategic work for each individual. Group workshops are fun as well because we can kind of cover the bases. But with individual coaching for professionals, it's all industries. I have professionals that I work with in every possible industry you can imagine because everyone needs to level up their communication. We tend to get lazy in our communications. I think even as we get older, we kind of get stuck in our patterns and our words and our comfort words that we use. And it's really fun to expand on that and to learn and to grow and to evolve. And I help great professionals do that, realizing it's going to level up their business, their visibility, maybe their profitability. And at the end of the day, it helps their personal relationships. So that's the type of strategic coaching that I do, as well as advising their social media plans, marketing plans, things like like that because I have all of these years with both of these industries to feed into the experience of what I'm able to do with these professionals.
So, Amy, an individual can come to you,
Yes.
but at the same time, you can also probably deal in a corporate environment as well.
Corporate environment and group workshops. It's in today's virtual world, Zoom workshops, they're a blast. I am doing a workshop the first of the year here with all songwriters to help them perfect their pitch for going to the record labels and to the artists to pitch their music and the publishers, how to perfect their pitch. So there isn't a limit on industries that can learn how to present themselves better. And it's really fun work.
Can you give us a coaching tip today, like an example? Like we've seen the transition to this virtual world, and we're in it right now, right through our cameras in our homes and offsite locations. And not everybody's camera ready, you know. But at the same time, sometimes we get on the camera and we all seem to blend together. Everybody's on the camera, etc. So, what is something that you would coach us on? You know, so that let's say I wanted to stand out on those calls. For reasons other than, you know, my kid was on my computer and turned me into a cat head or something, or a donkey or some critter or something. What's something you would tell us?
Well, lucky for you, I can see you as we're recording this, which is fantastic, but not everybody can see you. But I can tell you right now, Guido has a fantastic resting face, but that is not always the case for everyone. The resting face matters. There's so many professionals that may not realize what they're presenting in their active listening face. And when you're in these Zoom meetings or you're on an interview, what is your face saying? Because it may not be the same thing as what your words are saying. And getting that to align and realize that our face is going to help tell that story, our body language. Also, looking at the camera is so important. Getting used to looking at that little camera, because guess what that is? That's your eye contact. That's how we recreate that in-person meeting. If you want to stand out in a Zoom meeting, look at all of the other little squares, as I like to call it, and see how everybody is looking. Are they slouched over in their chair? Is it a dark background? Do they look grumpy? Do they look confused? Are they distracted? There might be opportunities in that meeting that somebody's missing. I have seen professionals miss incredible opportunities just because they have not brought themselves into this game as if it's in person. And we can recreate an in-person feel with that little camera, with our screens, and by utilizing your own body language, smiling, engaging with the camera the same way you were if you were in front of that person.
Some valuable tips there, folks.
Oh, and my favorite one, clean the lens. Start with clean the lens on your phone every time before you take a picture or video, and on your computer. Clean the lens. There's a lot of fuzzy videos going on out there. Get those fingerprints off of there. Fingerprints are the worst thing. Clean the lens.
This is valuable information. So we're gonna have to make a soundbite of that so folks can tune in on that one little piece. Look, Amy, you've done sales, you've done real estate, you've recorded albums, you've performed, you've done business. You've lived 3 or 4 people's careers so far, maybe more.
And I raised 4 kids.
And you know, you keep talking, hey, and the kids, because at every juncture, at every path, and the kids, and the family, and the kids, right? And the drivers, the kids are the drivers in all of this, right?
Yes.
At some point, you also become a TV host. What leads you to be a TV host of The American Dreams and other shows on top of that? How do you get into that?
That was so funny. That was a phone call that came in. I was doing the business development, working with teams, and one of the team members I had worked with the year before calls and says, Scruggs, I have an opportunity for you. And he knew of a show that was looking to add a host that specialized in understanding how to talk to real estate professionals, entrepreneurs, and also veterans. And I checked every box. And so I went in and met with them, and they handed me the helm to the studio, and it was incredible. What a fun experience that was. So I was able to I ended up hosting about 4 different shows for that media company over the last 5 years. And wow, what a learning curve that was. And I'm so grateful for the tools in my tool belt from that experience.
Yeah, you know, when you said that, I thought the things that you went through in your life, they were all building blocks, right?
Yes.
And maybe we don't realize it at the time, right? Well, I'm doing this one thing here. I'm in real estate, or I'm singing a song, or I'm writing, or I'm talking to somebody, or I'm meeting somebody. As individual things, we just think they're individual things. But then somebody's always watching and
Yes.
and seeing what we're doing. And we're building, we have these building blocks, and you got the call that let you put those building blocks together, right? For your TV host opportunity, right? How important that is.
It was so, I see it all as tools. We go through life, and like you're saying, each job or each experience. I mean, waiting tables when I was younger added tools to the tool belt.
Right.
So I'm constantly looking in this toolbox going, yeah, I got that in there. Oh, hey, that one's in there from 2002. Hey, what do you know? I have that tool. And I see it as one giant fun toolbox that allows me to keep expanding and evolving instead of a bunch of different categories that are, I used to do this, or I was that, or I used to do that. It's all still a part of who I am. I'm every bit a waitress as I am a business professional, as I am an artist, as I am a mother, any of it. And a TV host. It was all the same person bringing those tools to each table.
Do you see anything different about being a TV host than the other things that you've accomplished? Like, is there something different about it?
Yes, that took some getting used to, definitely. Making sure that I was really engaged with that camera. That was where that skill came into place, but also my active listening, because being a TV host was different than being a performer. If I'm on stage and I'm performing my song, that's me. That's me performing. But once I'm hosting, it's about that guest. It's about who I'm interviewing. It's not about me.
Right.
So it's making sure that I'm staying on point, that I'm using incredible active listening. And also, it's my job to get them there. Because most of them were nervous sitting in that seat. Do I look okay? Do I sound okay? What am I going to talk about? Don't worry, I'll get you there. That's my job. Follow my lead. I've got you. It's okay. And to bring that to the table as an interviewer was a new experience in all the years of what I had done prior. Valuable, valuable lessons, and the most incredible professionals of all walks of life, all industries, that I had the privilege of sitting with and saying, let me help you tell your story. And man, I loved every minute of it.
Does it change your perspective as an interviewee now at all?
Yes, completely. Yeah. Completely, because I want to make sure that I'm being respectful to my host. Am I on point for what they're looking for? Am I of value to their show? Am I staying engaged? Am I staying energetic? Am I staying on those talking points? Am I aware of the time that they've given? It's this amount of time. I'm going to keep it in that time frame. Completely made me aware of both sides, which is really fun. A
little bit more of the giving in once you have that perspective. Did your work as a TV host? I'm switching gears a little bit again for you, because
that's okay.
You've gone off and done something else. Did your work as a TV host inspire your now best-selling book, Lights, Camera, Action?
Yes.
It did.
Yeah, well, again, that shift took place because in 2020, the entire world shut down, correct? And I watched the entire world go on camera, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is what I do. Oh my goodness, this is perfect. I help professionals be on camera, and now everyone's on camera, not just those that come to my TV studio or need to be on a national network. Everyone went on camera, and it was eye-opening. And so that was absolutely the time. It was time to take some of those coaching techniques I had been using for the past few years while still hosting, and to put pen to paper. But what was fun about that was that it's not just me as a windbag just giving my tips. I reached out to my sphere, to those professionals that I had coached, and said, can I tell your story, your success story? I reached out to professionals that are well far advanced than me in certain categories and said, will you contribute to this chapter on this particular part of the subject of the teaching? So it was a collaborative project that everyone was locked up, everyone was in COVID, and they all said yes. So it was really that perfect timing of opportunity for me to put this together and utilize what an incredible network of people I had around me. So it's really their stories more than it is mine.
Amy, other than the fact I just want to get the book because I want to see one of the phenomenal things that Amy Scruggs is doing and writing about, who's the audience? Who would benefit? Would we all benefit from reading the book?
Yes, I wrote it. It's literally Lights, Camera, Action, media coaching for any professional in today's digital world, because it's for anyone that needs to become more comfortable being on camera. Nonprofits, they need to sell, and they need to be comfortable going out and asking for support and being a part of the community. And I've coached a nonprofit for the last 5 years that at first couldn't even be on camera, and now not only got onto the local news, but was featured in a documentary and now the Discovery Channel multiple times. So a nonprofit being able to utilize these media skills made a difference in how it funded their foundation. And so that's an incredible example of community outreach needing to have media coaching as much as anyone anyone in business. And every person now is putting videos on their social media. So I'm telling you, everybody can use some of these tips to say, how can I do this better? Because as I always share, if you wouldn't watch your video, neither will anybody else. If you would swipe, so are they. So let's clean it up. Let's be concise.
Lights, camera, action. Amy Scruggs. We could check out that book. I'm going to put it in the podcast notes. Amy, you talked about, or you've mentioned it a couple of times, veterans and Veterans Day.
Yes.
I saw a video segment that you hosted for Veterans Day, and you mentioned it, and I wanted to mention it again. You were the spokesperson, I think, for the American Veterans of California. Shout out to all veterans. Shout out.
Yes.
The video I'm talking about is with your dad, Tom Scruggs. Now, while your father spoke, you had the biggest smile. And I just got drawn in by how you were listening to your dad. I had a feeling that the story he was telling, that you've heard it before, and I have a feeling that if he told it again, you'd still have that same sort of enamored look, like you were hearing it for the first time. And at one point in your talk with him, you say this, and this caught me. You said, "Dad, we don't know how to do something. We figure it out. You've taught me that."
He did.
Is that how Amy Scruggs is doing what she's doing across all these different platforms? Is that Dad?
Yes, my dad had an incredible drive and work ethic. I watched him work tirelessly with the family business and aerospace. And then also being a veteran, he taught me that love for our veterans and for country. And so I watched my dad model putting his mind to anything, learning something, running the home, running the business, everything that he did. And I knew that I wanted to do that. I knew I had that same drive in me. Very high ADHD. Thanks, Dad. We have that together too, but it really, it was a driver. And I'm thankful for it because I can multitask like no one you've ever met. So Dad definitely was an inspiration. And also, of course, as a daughter, always wanting to make him proud. I think I love coming, "Hey, Dad, guess what we just did? Yep, Dad, finally recording another album. Dad, we hit the charts." Like, to still be able to call him and talk about these success points that have even happened this year at this stage, and to make him proud while he still understands that is very important to me.
I think, and I don't know if your dad listens to this stuff, but you could tell him, I think that I could hear in his voice that he was quite proud of you, and just your exchange. It was really. If folks haven't seen it, I encourage it. Maybe you give me we can put the link in the show notes, because it's just a real pleasure to watch that interaction in the video, and hopefully folks can experience that.
Thank you.
Amy, I wanted to come back to music, and I said I would. You recently released a number of singles: "Love Another Day," "Hold My Hand," "Fly," "Something to Believe In." Following your first single in a while called "What If It All Goes Right."
Yes.
So what if it all goes right, Amy? Are we looking back, or are we looking forward, or both when it comes to that title?
That has been my tagline since I was a little girl. When I would want to try something, or I'd put my mind to something that nobody thought I could do, I go, "Well, what if? Well, what if it goes right?" I was never the one to be like, "Oh no, what if that doesn't work?" So it's always been that mindset, and how I was even as a mother with my kid. "Oh, you've got this. You can do it. That's all right. What if it goes right? It'll work. It's okay. Just try it first. Don't bring me the reasons it's going to go wrong. Let's see what happens." So I think that's always been a part of who I am, and I think a big part of why I've been able to continue always moving forward and pulling myself out of a bind or finding a new success opportunity. And so when that song was placed in front of me like a needle in a haystack, and all I did was look at the title, and I knew I was going to record that song. I hadn't even heard the melody yet, and I went, "Oh my gosh, this one was meant for me." It was that song that I visualized at 3 and 4 years old, that I knew I'd have it someday, and that was the one. It just took me a while to get there. But what if it goes right? And wow, did it ever?
Yeah, it's funny because as I looked at your journey and the things that you did, and then I got to the point of that song, and I just thought, yeah, it did, right? What if it all goes right? It's just something that just seemed to fit, and I just needed that validation from you, Amy.
It was literally this answer to something I had instinctively known my whole life, that this moment would happen. And of course, the perfect song at the perfect time. What's been so fun is that song really did well around the world with radio. The response would be wow, the world needs this right now. I mean, could not have been better timing. I'm glad that I didn't find that song when I was in Nashville in 2004. It wasn't the right time yet. It needed to come right now at this time, and that's when it was supposed to have its own life. And I'm just proud to be the vessel that got to sing it. That's it.
We're going to play it. We're going to play it later, folks. If they haven't heard it, we're going to play it and introduce them to it. So listen, we're going to hear some of your songs throughout the show.
Thank you.
I've already got them spinning on thepathradio.com, our affiliate radio station. One of the songs is Love Another Day. And there's something that sticks out to me in that one. It's a line that sticks out and it says, too much good to complain about anything.
Yes.
It just seems like a great message to start a new year with, maybe.
It is. Because here's the thing, even the stuff that's tough, then there's lessons in it. And then that's a good thing, because then I know what not to do again. And then the good stuff is also the good stuff. So we can find it in anything, even in the pain, because it allows us to grow and evolve and go on to that next thing that we're supposed to be doing. And boy, have I been a living testimony of that. And yes, too much good to complain about anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of been the theme in our conversation, right? All the different things and all the junctures and the learning. And you could easily have just, that's it, I'm done. You get stuck in the complaint, but you didn't. No. And you kept moving forward and you learned and you kept building. Look, with everything you've done, we've talked about what was the plan. Did you have a vision for everything? And you said, well, when I was a kid, when I was a child, I wanted to play music and that was sort of always my foundation. But everything you've accomplished, was it a case of you really reading the times? Being willing to adjust, using your life experiences to grow, not being afraid to take that next step, even when you could, or, you might want to be afraid. It was the easy thing to do, to be afraid. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot of folks out there who could benefit from understanding how someone like yourself would approach life and have some of these additional insights, Amy.
I'm still human, and fear, of course, it was still there. But pushing past the fear is where we find out what we're made of, because the fear is still going to be there. But what if the fear and the action can meet and create new opportunities? And that's what always happened. And seeing it as this big picture, I never saw my life as narrow. Even every time I added another kid, I never saw my life as just this narrow one path thing. I think I always visualized myself with that big life and experiences. I felt it since I was younger. And the more it's big and there's different nuances and things that come through and different career opportunities, I go, okay, I felt that coming. And it just feels so rewarding to be able to say, I tried that. And there's a lot of things we didn't talk about that I tried that didn't work. That's okay. It's all right. The things that do work are such a blessing. And they outweigh all of those other things. And the failures brought me to where I am today. The losses brought me where I am today. And hopefully it's made me a better human, a better mother, a better coach, a better mentor to the young adults that are in my life. And I do see it as a constant opportunity to shift and to grow.
Amy, you just reminded me. I wanted to talk about this and I didn't ask you, and I apologize. Your son, because you mentioned the kids, your son.
My son Ryan, for those that don't realize, and when we talk about the music, at 16, he started playing guitar for me. By 17, he was touring with me. He paid his dues. He was a roadie there. He schlepped guitars. He was a guitar tech. He drove the truck. He handled merchandise. And then he moved up to lead position. And by the time he was 18, he was sharing major stages with me. And he also served the military and veterans with me. And still to this day, if I have a live performance, Ryan is the one standing right there next to me. And he led the band. He picked our musicians. He partnered. He's written a lot of the music that we do in our live show, some songs that we do for the veterans. And it's been a big, powerful part of our story is that passion and that connection that he and I have. I have 4 amazing kids. Ryan and I have that experience that you can't put words to that we've had together. He's 31 years old now, and we have experiences that you can't describe, starting with him being very young.
Yeah, and so I wanted to mention that because as you were talking about your approach to life, there's something else that was very important in everything you said today. You've integrated family into almost everything we talked about, and the importance of value of having that family with you and doing things for your family. And so it was just an opportunity shout out to Ryan for all the stuff that he does with you, but it really drives home, you know, how you integrated family into everything that you did throughout your life. Thank you so much for doing this with me today. You're an absolutely electric individual. I've been inspired the whole time leading up to our conversation, during, and I'm certainly going to continue being inspired when we're done here, as I listen to your music and watch the other things that you're going to go do in life. And hopefully we could stay connected. Is there anything that you'd like to leave us with before you do go?
My advice to anyone of any age is to take those limits off. If you have limits on something, an age limit, a talent limit, an ability, a financial limit, anything, take it off and watch and see what's going to happen in your life, because it's magical.
Taking the limits off. That is Amy Scruggs, businesswoman, TV host, author, recording artist, media and entertainment coach with a life experience to inspire anyone. Let's listen to some of her music as we enjoy the new year. I will have all of Amy's contact and website information in the show notes. Again, thank you so very much, Amy.
Honor to be with you today. Thank you.
All right, Amy Scruggs has certainly given us all something to believe in for this brand spanking new year of 2023. So let's just do that with her song, Something to Believe In. Here is Amy Scruggs.
It's a lonely road that I've traveled on, always reaching out for something that is real. I thought all hope was lost, I thought of giving in. Then I saw a light shining brighter than the sun, and it was you. Now that lonely road, yeah, it's paved with gold. The things I couldn't reach, you just gave to me. And that shining light, it never shone so bright. I said goodbye to all those shadows in my heart, and it was you.
That is Amy Scruggs with Something to Believe In, and you can hear that song on thepathradio.com. Plus, I'll have all the details in the podcast notes so you can download the song and make it part of your playlist. We're going to hear more from Amy and her music a little bit later in the show. Now, let's get to our next guest.
I am welcoming to the show hypnotherapist, certified through the International Association of Counselors and Therapists, empath, certified Reiki, and orgonite maker, Monique Pliakis. Did I get all that right, Monique?
You got it beautifully right.
I'm nervous
Thank
saying
you.
all those things. I don't understand half of them.
It's a lot, but I can explain it all. So anyone listening or watching who doesn't get it, I will explain it all for
Thank
you. I'm happy
goodness.
to.
Thank goodness.
Absolutely.
So I thank you for being here and on the show. And how you doing?
I am wonderful. And thank you for having me on your show.
Hey, right on. I guess we should also say Happy New Year's, right?
Yes. Happy New
Happy New
Year.
Year. Now, do you make any New Year's resolutions or?
So funny story. When I was younger, I used to because that was the thing that people did. And it wasn't until later where I started getting a little older where I was like, if I want to do something and make a change for myself, I'll just do it when I'm ready and when I want. And so I started thinking about New Year's resolutions and how it's great. It's a great concept. But I see a lot of people use it as a way to delay doing what they want to do because they might not think they're ready or they want to put it off. So it's like, well, it's June. Well, I want to start eating healthy. I'll do it for New Year's. You don't need to wait for New Year's. Just do it now. Like it's that feeling that you wanted is there. Go for it.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. You think about that and you go, why do I have to wait till what is the thing about January 1st that makes it so special? I guess the turning of the year. I don't know.
Well, they say new year, new you. So
yeah.
it's all marketing.
I do it once in a while. I do it. I don't know that I did this past year, or like I don't write anything down or anything like that. I guess I just say to myself, well, I want to do these things. I want to live healthier or do this but nothing that ties me down to some sort of regiment that I know I probably can't keep. Right.
Well, that's the thing. You need to make realistic goals for yourself. And that's one of the things with my hypnotherapy that I help people figure out how to do that. Because when we're doing work, whether you want to call it like their subconscious is telling them or different parts of themselves or even their higher selves, when they're being told like, oh, I need to do this more. I need to go for walks. I need to meditate. I need to drink more water, whatever it is. Well, there's a reason why people aren't doing that. It's because it's hard for them.
It is. I agree. Yeah.
So otherwise they'd be doing it. So we find out, okay, well, how can this person realistically accomplish this goal? Like, how do they get there? What baby steps do we take?
Right.
To get from A to B realistically, because we know that this is difficult for this person. And it's withdrawing that information that's so important because it's easy to say like, well, I know I need this or I need that. But okay, but how do we do it? That's going to work for you.
And we try to tackle things. We try to tackle a football field when all we really need to do is maybe just figure out what the bench we're sitting on is look like before we even get on the field sometimes,
Yeah.
So
it's like, get your shoes on,
So you started talking a little bit about the hypnotherapy, but I want folks to understand something before we go too far deep into this. I started off by introducing you and saying you're certified and mentioning credentials. Why is it important that you have credentials such as being certified through that International Association of Counselors and Therapists? And then part two, how do you get those credentials?
Well, let me explain a little bit about my journey. I started reading tarot when I was 19, and I'm an empath, and I've always just had this driving urge to help people. My father is a retired police officer. My uncle was a firefighter. My family is military, police, firefighter, and we just have that in us. But I was a little girl who would like go and hug people, like you need a hug, and hug them. And so I just always felt like, how can I help people? And I always felt like I read tarot, I make orgonite, but I felt like there's something missing. I need to do more. And then I learned about hypnotherapy, and I thought, this is it. Like it was the missing puzzle piece that clicked and fit. So I just started researching because I found out about Michael Newton and the Newton Institute for Life Between Lives. So they focus on past life regression and then life between lives, which is where you go after you pass. And through their website and researching on how to learn how to do that, I learned that you need to become certified first. So they have a list of teachers that you can go and take these courses to become certified. And it's a lot of work. So I found somebody who had good credentials, who was well known and well trusted. And I went to them, and we did like hundreds upon hundreds of hours of lessons, like actual like group work, hypnotizing people, reading. So you go through a lot of work to get certified. And it's not just about getting people into hypnosis. It's what you do when you get there. And this is why it's important to be certified. Anyone can learn how to hypnotize somebody on YouTube nowadays. We get hypnotized as people watching movies, listening to something. Your mind suspends reality for a moment. So when you're watching that Avengers movie and you're really into it, you're actually being hypnotized because your conscious mind, for most people, when you're really in that movie, isn't like, okay, these are actors with a green screen behind it. It's all fake. It's all CGI. You're there like, whoa, Captain America, look at him, yeah, look at Hulk smash. And you allow yourself to believe it. And that is actually a form of hypnosis because your mind is just like, I'm believing this. Even though you know it's fake, you're starting to believe it. And so you can easily get somebody into a hypnotic state. If somebody is in shock, they can easily be into a hypnotic state. So what happens is getting somebody hypnotized can be very easy. But when you're doing therapy, that is where all the education comes in. It's like, okay, now I'm here. What do I do? You are a therapist. When you are a certified hypnotherapist, the keyword is therapist. So that's why you are helping people. Because one thing that people may not realize is if I hypnotize you and I don't know what I'm doing, and then you come up to a bad memory and I put my hand on your shoulder, that can cause a trigger. So when you're out of hypnosis and somebody touches your shoulder, that could cause you to go back to that moment where you were experiencing something not very good and get that feeling all over again.
This is all wild.
So you want to avoid that.
This is all wild. So there's so much there that you talked about, and like
I know
the movies, and really, I'm hypnotized when I'm watching a movie. I'm thinking back and I'm going, this is a possibility. Now, look, so you mentioned not a danger. Maybe it is a danger. Is there a danger to working with someone who's not certified in hypnotherapy? It's an interesting question, and we're going to find out from Monique what the answer to it is right after we hear from one of our friends of the podcast. Here's Richard at Chaser's Juice.
Hi, I'm Richard Chase, introducing Chaser's Fresh Juice, a local business in Toronto. We've been in business for over 20 years, initially supporting our local Toronto area and now servicing all of Canada. Chaser provides fresh organic juices, ingredients including citrus zests, dehydrated garnishes, and fresh citrus peels to enhance any cocktail or recipe you can think of. We have successfully supplied restaurants, distilleries, craft breweries, and bakeries across the country. Reach out to orders@chasersjuice.com for any questions you may have. We are a customized fresh juice company, and I'm sure we can help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, at Chaser's Juice. It is fantastic juice. There's a lot of high-end restaurants and facilities that are serving Chaser's Juice in the Greater Toronto area, and I haven't met anybody who doesn't like it. So check it out, chasersjuice.com. Now, before that break, I had just finished asking Monique about the dangers of going to someone who isn't certified, who doesn't know what they're doing when it comes to hypnosis. Let's find out what her answer is. Now, look, so you mentioned not a danger. Maybe it is a danger. Is there a danger to working with someone who's not certified in hypnotherapy?
I mean, you can screw people up. Usually hypnotherapy is very safe. But if somebody has absolutely no idea what they're doing, they can cause problems for that person. So then somebody who knows what they're doing has to go back and fix it. And there are some people, even certified, you want to be careful because I learned through my education that there are some people who will put basically like a lock inside your mind that hypnotherapy will only work for the person hypnotizing you, like for that person you're with. So if something happens and you go to somebody else, it might not work. And then they have to figure out another way to get in. And that's why it's like, you got to be really careful about who you choose. You want somebody trustworthy. Unfortunately, like with any business out there, there are people to make money. And I mean, it is a business and there are people who just care about the money. I'm in it because I just want to help people.
But Monique, if you're certified, then there's some sort of code of ethics. And
there's a code of ethics,
right.
Yes. But at the end of the day, anyone can study that. They can do the tests. They can sign to it. But it comes down to who you are as the person. That's why it's important to talk to a hypnotherapist before you even decide to go with them. I offer free 20-minute consults because, one, you might realize, I don't know if this person is on the same vibe as me. And I don't know, like nothing against them, but somebody might not want to work with me. I might not be able to help somebody with their specific issues, so I can refer them. But like if you do that free 20-minute consult and you get the feeling like, I just get a red flag,
right?
Then that allows you to not schedule. Whereas some people don't do that and they get you in and you've already paid for it. And then it's like, I'm not comfortable.
Right. No.
And then people feel obligated, and that's not fair.
You kind of started giving us some examples of hypnotherapy, but I'm still sitting here going, what exactly is hypnotherapy? Like, are you pulling the thing out and like, watch the swinging watch and then I get into a state of something else? And then the other part of that is, do I have to be a willing participant, or can you just, hypnotize even though I don't want to be hypnotized?
So for hypnosis to work, you have to want it. So when you see those stage hypnotists up there, that works because people are willing. So, and I know people who have gone up and they didn't want to do it, but they just pretended. But if you're actually open and willing to do it, it will work. Stage hypnotists and then hypnotherapists are two different people. Yes, we both use hypnosis.
Okay.
But again, we're doing therapy. So there's some people who might use a pendulum and have them watch it. There's certain what we call induction methods to get you into hypnosis. I might have somebody do something to help them while I'm talking, look up, and they look all as far back as they can, hold it. Okay, now close your eyes. And that, and then I'll have them do that. It's making their eyes tired and it's getting their mind to focus on that. And so there's all these little methods and everyone is different. So it's a matter of finding out in that consult and afterwards, what's going to work for this person? Because not everyone is visual. So when you close your eyes, how do you imagine? Like, is it visual? Do you just get a feeling? Do you just know something? Are you hearing something? Not everyone's visual. So they might close their eyes and imagine, and they're not seeing anything, but they're still imagining. And we have to figure out, if I say, close your eyes and see before you this, that's not going to work because you're not going to see anything. So there's a lot involved.
It sounds like you build a bit of a relationship with the hypnotherapist and that becomes part of the session. Is that what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like during my 20-minute appointments, I go for the consults, I go through any questions they have, what they're looking for, how we can obtain their goals. But also I go through all the information so there's no surprises. Because when I first got hypnotized, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? I'm so being judged on this right now. And I don't want people to feel like that. I want them to be comfortable because I get people in a very relaxed state and your awareness, you might go from, I'm not hypnotized, I'm so aware, to, oh my gosh, I think I fell asleep. What's she saying? And I should probably pay attention.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So look, it's New Year's, the $1 billion question. I asked about New Year's resolutions earlier.
Yes.
One it's a $1 billion industry, and that's exercising to lose weight, dieting. That becomes a lot of people's New Year's resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Can hypnotherapy help them with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we have different methods to do that. We might do something just talking about weight loss and substituting foods that aren't as healthy for you, substituting with healthier foods and water. There's the hypno lap band procedure where you can be hypnotized. And basically it's like we're performing the lap band surgery on you, but you're not actually having surgery. It's all in your mind. But people, their mind's like, oh, I can't eat more than this. I have the band. And their body will automatically be like, nope, can't have more than that. It sounds amazing and incredible and too good to be true, but it works as long as people are willing and they want that change.
Is it safe?
It is. It's very safe. It's safer than surgery. But people have to want it. So if you don't want to lose weight and everyone's saying, oh, you need to lose weight, but you don't want to, it won't work. But if you really want it, it will work.
That sounds so cool and interesting.
It is.
Okay, just sticking along with some of the health stuff. Another one is sleep. We often hear about you should have X amount of hours of sleep. Is that something else where, I understand the diet one because you're kind of saying, okay, let's replace things, right? And as they walk away, they have that. But how about sleep? Where does that come in? Does that work for sleep?
It does. So it's just, I'm saying something different and it helps with sleep. But I think the important thing is to figure out, why is somebody not sleeping? Because there are hypnotherapists who use what we call scripts, where we type something up and we just talk to that person while they're in hypnosis. So their subconscious is picking up that information. But it's really important beforehand to find out, well, why don't you sleep? And somebody might say, well, my kids keep me up all night. Or they might say, I'm so stressed, or they might not know. And then it's good to do a hypno session to find out, why aren't you sleeping? Because then we can work that into finding out, work that into giving them a way to sleep at night with their hypnosis session for sleep. I have a digital download of guided hypnotherapy where it's me. I recorded myself for those who have insomnia. So if you don't want to schedule an appointment one-on-one with me, whether the money, the time, feel awkward with a stranger doing it, you can do a digital download of guided hypnotherapy and you listen to that and you can listen to it before bed. And it basically brings you into sleep and then allows you to sleep throughout the night, only waking up if you need to. So that way that's in there, because if a fire alarm goes off, if you need to use the bathroom, you want to be able to wake up and not sleep through it. But it helps people sleep.
Very cool. Now, look, I've asked you two very specific things, and I asked them on purpose because I think that those are a couple of things that when New Year's happens, people kind of start to focus around their health and their diet and whatnot. Could you elaborate maybe for us on some of the other challenges that you've helped people that's not sleep or diet related that they can overcome using hypnotherapy, just so that people have a spectrum of maybe what's out there?
Absolutely. Thank you. One big thing I help people with is anxiety and stress. When you're dealing with stress and anxiety, it doesn't just mentally affect you, it physically affects you. So a lot of times, why are you stressed out? Why do you have this anxiety or even fears and phobias? Helping people with that. I look at it like we don't invest in ourselves enough. The holidays, how much money did you spend on gifts for other people? How much time did you spend on other people? And then compare that to how much you spent on yourself. A lot of times people put themselves on the back burner. And we talk about how important mental health and wellness is. Your physical, emotional, mental state is so important. And even spiritual, and people just put it on the back burner. So when you're dealing with something, whether it's fears, phobias, anxiety, or you just want to do better for yourself in some way, why would you not give yourself that gift? Because you deserve it. I feel like everyone deserves that. Another thing that I love helping people with is finding out what they really need. A lot of times people, they don't know where to go, career-wise, love-wise, any direction, whatever's going on. What do you, as a person, what do you need? It's called parts therapy, where we get in touch with your physical self, your mental, intellectual self, your emotional self, and your spiritual self. And that unlocks so many doors for people because they find out what they need and then how to obtain that.
When you were talking about all that, I wrote down the word self-investment, because it seems like, and you said, people go out and buy things for everybody else or give to everybody else, but when do they take care of themselves? And all the things that you just talked about, right? We talked about diet. We talked about sleep. You talked about anxiety and stress. You talked about fears and phobias, and you relate that to parts therapy. And I'm going, it's almost like it is like a self-investment sometimes, that if you do some of these sessions and you have some of these things, that you can better yourself or use it as a tool to better yourself. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Oh,
and sometimes you only need one session. A lot of people,
interesting.
You think like, oh, there's a lot going on with me. One session. And because I like to follow up with people.
Right.
And they tell me how their life has drastically changed for the better. I had one girl who had such crippling anxiety. And after one session, she told me how she got stuck in traffic, and where this would normally like cripple her in a panic attack, she just turned on the radio and realized, I can't control traffic and I'll get there when I get there. This girl went to like a vicious circle of, I'm anxious, something happens, it makes me more anxious, then I freeze, and then I feel like I'm getting in trouble for it, and then it makes it worse. And it's this vicious circle to all of a sudden, like, I'm fine. One session.
One session.
So it's not even like you always have to invest like thousands of dollars. I mean, it could just be one session and you're good.
Now, there's times that you go beyond hypnotherapy. You integrate other things. I mentioned them at the beginning too. Reiki, Organite, which is something that you make, and you incorporate crystals.
Yes.
What are those? What is all of that? And what is the benefit of integrating that with hypnotherapy when you do integrate them?
So Reiki, that's basically energy healing. So when I was doing hypnotherapy for my whole life, I basically was giving Reiki, but I didn't realize it. I was using my own energy instead of the energy from the earth. So I always felt drained. So I realized I need to learn how to properly do this. And I became a certified Reiki master. So during hypnotherapy sessions, I pull energy from the earth and I pass it through to the person I'm working with. And that can be done remotely. It's usually hands-on, but a lot of times our energy can travel across wherever we want it to. So there's a long distance Reiki healing. It's along those lines where I'm giving you Reiki. I'm not touching you, but I'm connecting with you in your energy. And so that I like to use, especially if somebody's going through a lot of trauma. It's very healing, calming, and soothing. But it depends on the session. I ask people before their session if they are interested. But once we're actually in hypnosis, if I feel like we need to do some work here, I will ask them again. Because when you're in hypnosis, you are 100% in control. So you might think, I want to do this, but in the moment you might say, you know what? I don't think I need it, or I don't want it, or yes, I want it. You have that choice. So I like to give that to people. With the crystals, I love crystals. Everything in our earth carries vibrational energy, and rocks do too. And so different rocks carry different types of energy. So I like to use crystals for protection and for healing. I have certain crystals I use every session, but then from my collection, I try to focus on my client's energy. I ask for my guides to connect with their guides. So I feel energetically connected to that person so I can best help them. And I'll look at my crystals and go by feeling of what I need, and I will pull crystals for that person. So I have their energy. So everything is cleansed beforehand and afterwards. So it's all cleared energy, but I like to use that. And for Organite is basically a device made of crystal with a quartz that neutralizes harmful energy. So think about quartz. It's in watches, it's in computers. It's because it is piezoelectric, which means when you have pressure on it and heat, it creates an electrical charge. So when we're making Organite, it's usually 50-50 or 60-40 organic to inorganic material. And what you're doing basically is taking metal shavings and quartz and putting it in resin or beeswax. So as it hardens, it's putting that pressure on the quartz, activating it. And that neutralizes the energy. With my Organite, I like to add other crystals in for that positive energy. So whatever type of metaphysical aspects that crystal has, I put that in there. So I keep that around all my electronic devices.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's deep. This is all deep. Look at how do people know? So we have all these streams that we've just talked about. How do people know that it's working for them? Like what signs would they look for to say, yes, when Monique uses the crystals, this happens, or when she uses the orgonite, this happens, or when I just do hypnotherapy unto itself. What signs should we be looking for if we're a client or if we're using this?
Well, it's not really signs. It's just usually people feel things. I was doing a cleansing grounding hypnotherapy portion for a client. And when I'm doing cleansing energy and I have somebody ground, basically I'm moving my hands and I am taking the energy and it's like, okay, we're pushing it out of you. And then what I do is I have them have positive energy coming in as they're grounding one side and coming out another. And I was just doing one side with my hands and out the other. And the client actually said, I could feel like the positive energy coming up on my right side and leaving the negative energy, leaving on my left. And I said, that was the direction I was moving my hands, pulling it and pushing it. So could it be a coincidence? Absolutely. But she experienced something that coincided with what I was doing. I will pull crystals for a certain thing, and I don't know what's going to come up during a session. And oftentimes I'll explain, I have this crystal for this and this crystal for that. And then something comes up where something that no fear at all was going to come up, but during inner child, some fear came up. And it was like, that was why I pulled this crystal for fear, because I wasn't expecting anything fearful, but it was just, it happened to come out something in the childhood that was unexpected, that she just never even realized that caused her fear. So a lot of times it's more of like it makes sense after.
So it's they're making the connection based on their experiences, and it could be different from person to person.
Exactly.
Is what I'm hearing then.
Yes.
You mentioned something earlier when we were talking. You said something about life regression, past life regression. What is your work in past life regression?
So basically, while you're in hypnosis, we go back through a couple of happy childhood memories, and then we go back when you were inside your mother's womb. That's usually the best point to jump into a past life. So from there, we bring you to a past life, and you get to experience one of your past lives. It's a pretty incredible thing.
It's right. And we may have some people who are going, what? Really? Is this possible? What's the wildest session you've had when it comes to past lives, like that you could talk about, I guess?
Well, one of the coolest things that happened was actually I was doing a Gestalt therapy. Gestalt therapy is where basically you get to confront people, whether they're still here on earth or not, and you get to say your piece. So you get to tell people how they made you feel. And then you get to be that person and you go back and forth having a conversation with that person. And it's often an opportunity to say the things that you never got to say, whether it's you want to forgive them or let it go, or you want to tell them how much you love them. But I was doing some Gestalt therapy with a friend and colleague of mine. And during her session, we got her into hypnosis. And then I like to bring people to a safe place where it's just somewhere beautiful and relaxing and safe and secure, because should anything come up during your session that you feel is too much to deal with, you can go there immediately and feel safe. So I always like to have that. During the part where she went to her safe place, she kept getting things changing on her, like images and people showing up. And one was a Native American showing up. And when she did her Gestalt, all of a sudden she instantly went into a past life regression after we were done with her Gestalt work. And that actually came up during a past life. She was this big burly man up in Canada, and she's explaining everything, like the river and like where it was. And he he was in love with a Native American woman. And what had happened was basically some of her issues, it was discovered happened in that past life that's causing issues in her life today. So we got to resolve those issues during that spontaneous past life regression session. And ironically enough, because she's like, I don't even know what that is. And she's like naming things. I don't know what this is. And afterwards, we looked things online, like, wow, that river, that exists. That thing we were talking about exists. This is here in Canada. So it was really cool because she had no idea. And sometimes information, it comes out for a reason. When we're doing hypnotherapy, what you need is there. And it's a matter of being able to get it to come out. And sometimes you have to draw that information out. And sometimes it's going to hit you in the face like, hey, we're doing this now. This is happening. And so that can happen. You can get spontaneous past life regression during a session. And of course, I'm the kind of person, I tell people for general hypno appointments, put aside 2 hours. It could be 45 minutes. It could be 2.5 hours. I don't say, oh, it's 2 hours, time's up. No, we're in and we're going somewhere, or we're going to keep going. So I was just like, oh my goodness, yes, like, let's do this. It was so incredible, the information that came out and how healing it was. And some of it was really sad, but it explained why she was feeling these feelings and why she had these thoughts in her head about certain things. It made sense. It was from this past life. And people might argue, well, is it really a past life? I don't know. It could just be your subconscious mind showing you something you need to see in a way that'll help you understand. I don't know for sure, but I feel like no matter what, the information is coming to you for a reason, and it's to help you.
It's a different way to look at it that you just presented. And I was going to ask, do you, like, that's an interesting, incredible story. Do you, when those things happen, or you tell those stories, or do you ever get pushback from folks going, and it could be of any mindset, a religious mindset or otherwise, who just, they don't believe in hypnotherapy. They don't believe in Reiki or the past life regression. What do you say to stuff like that when you have all these experiences?
I got to respect it, because I have good friends who I love, and they're just like, I don't believe in it. It's just not my thing. And you know what? That's your journey. You let me talk about it, and I appreciate that. You don't agree with me, or you don't believe it. That's okay. That's you. That's part of who you are. It's not my job to try to convince people. I can present the information, and then you take it however you want. And if you're open to it, beautiful. We can make things happen. And if you're not, that's okay, because maybe that's not part of your journey. Who's to say? And it's not my place to push things.
And I get, there's other things in life that we could apply that to, right? So, I mean, if you're a meat and potatoes person, you don't believe in vegetables, you're not going to go to the vegetable stand, and vice versa, right? You're not going to go to the meat and potatoes, right? They're there. And if you want to consume them, it's your choice to consume them. So I think I hear what you're saying is, look, I'm not pushing anything on anybody here. These are the experiences. These are my lived experiences. Everybody's going to have their own journey. But if you want to have this experience, these are my credentials I've talked about. These are the experiences that I've had. Thinking back on those experiences, Monique, have you ever had a session that didn't quite go as planned that you can share with us, that maybe went sideways in the hypnotherapy or anything?
I absolutely can share a story. Get your popcorn. No, it's actually like, some people might be disgusted by it. So while I was learning hypnotherapy, part of earning your certification is you have to hypnotize people. So I'm asking all my friends, everyone I know, can I hypnotize you? And a friend of mine was like, hey, I know somebody who's looking for some help. And he was having some issues, and he thought it was going back to abuse during his childhood. And I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, like I definitely want to help this person. And so during my consult with him, he wasn't very cooperative, in the sense of, I tell people, you want to be in a quiet, comfortable place, and you want to be either laying back or have like a tall, like back of a chair, because when you go into hypnosis, what happens is your body starts to sink. And if you don't have a chair with a backing, or you're not in a good spot, you could hurt yourself or be very uncomfortable. And that won't help you get into hypnosis. And he kept trying to get in these like yoga poses. And I said to him, no, you need to just let your body relax. Put your hands down, relax your shoulders, just get relaxed. And he just wouldn't listen. And so it's just, I got a red flag, like something's not right here. But then I thought, like, I tried to do a little quick hypno session with him, just going into a safe place and coming out to see how he does. And I could tell it wasn't working. And I thought, okay, I must be doing something wrong. I have to work harder to figure out what's going to work for him. And I didn't listen to my gut. And so the day comes for his session and he shows up, he's eating. And so I was put off by it. And I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to give you a few minutes to finish eating. And then I'm going to log off. You let me know when you're done and we can begin. And he was just like, oh, okay. It was like, I give an email with all this information, how to be prepared and ready. And it's like, you need to be ready for this. So I was put off by that. And again, like that red flag, my gut feelings like something's wrong here. So we're going through the session and I can tell he's not in hypnosis. There's ways we can tell, but I also like my energy. I just feel it. And I'm trying to get him in. And then he's like, I need to get more comfortable. So I'm like, okay, why don't you go to a different spot? So the camera on the computer is moving and it gets settled down in another room and it's a bed. And he gets in bed and I realize he doesn't have a shirt on. And I'm starting to feel uncomfortable, but I'm thinking, okay, he's in LA. It's probably hot. It's late spring, early summer. I'm sorry, it was late summer, early fall. And I'm like, he's probably hot, whatever. And so he had a blanket over his waist that, like the fake fur type of blankets. Oh, you know where I'm going with this. So, yeah. So I noticed he's like rubbing it. Looked like he was rubbing his leg. And I'm like, he better not be doing what I think he's doing. Oh, hell no. And so, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because some people, like, they have to touch something soft. It's like a soothing, calming mechanism. And I know people like that, where you just have to because my children are autistic and they have issues, like they have to touch things. So I'm thinking, okay, don't go to the worst possible scenario here. So he's still not really working with hypnosis and I can tell. And then all of a sudden the blanket goes like sticking up. And I'm thinking, oh no. And then the blanket falls off. And he is exposing himself to me as he is pleasuring himself. And the funny thing is, my first thought was, I am a married woman. How dare you? I was so shocked. Even though I could tell it was coming, it was still like, what kind of person does that? And I just immediately said, that is extremely inappropriate and unprofessional, and I'm not going to work with you. Well, I'm sorry. I took him out of hypnosis first, because when you go into hypnosis, you need to come out of hypnosis. So I quickly took him out of hypnosis, and then I said that and ended the session.
Wow.
But after talking with my friends and colleagues, we realized it's a control thing. It wasn't a sexual thing. It was him trying to control me. And it was him trying to control the situation.
While he was in hypnosis.
But he wasn't. I could tell he wasn't. And I kept doing deepeners to get him into hypnosis. He didn't want to be hypnotized.
You tried to, when you said I took him out, you were making sure that he wasn't.
I'm not, because even if he was like partway in, I still wanted to bring him out, because that's just, I feel like it's the right thing to do. But everyone else I spoke to was like, I wouldn't have done that. I just would have ended the session.
So wild and uncomfortable. Now, I was going to ask you, do you have to be in the same room to do hypnotherapy? But it sounds like that was a virtual session. So
yes. I do the majority of my sessions on Zoom.
Wow. And what happens if we lose connection?
So when I'm bringing you into hypnosis, I tell people, I say that if any point during the session you need to do something, you need to use the bathroom, or we lose our connection, you can come up from hypnosis just enough to do what you need to do. And when you're done, you can go back into hypnosis as deep as you are now and even deeper. So I'm basically putting that in there. Like, should something happen, you can come out enough to say like, oh, I got to do this. And then once we're connected again, or once you're back, go right back in.
So that leads me to my next question was, can people do self-hypnosis, and do you recommend that?
So I recommend guided hypnosis where you're listening to something, because then that way you can finish listening and then come out of hypnosis. I don't recommend trying to hypnotize yourself, because like unless you're listening to something, like I've recorded myself and listened, that's fine. But just trying to like, because I've actually, it's difficult to be like, okay, I've done it for going to sleep, just the methods of like going down the stairs and like every step and doing different things, but it's not really hypnosis.
Right.
I don't know how many people can actually hypnotize themselves. It's more of a guided hypnosis. And you want to make sure you're doing something that maybe listen to it for first, not wanting to go into hypnosis, to make sure, because you don't want to be in there and like getting in hypnosis and then all of a sudden feel like, what did they just say?
Right.
And then be uncomfortable. Or something you don't agree with or you're not comfortable with. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's just, you might be like, I don't like this. Then it's not going to work for you.
Sounds like do some prep work, know what you're getting into. Maybe it's a sub part of a, an after a guided sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But some common sense things is what you're saying there, Monique.
Yes.
Look, if someone, you've talked about your consults, if someone wants to reach out to you for a consult, what do they need to do? What happens?
They just go to my website, innerstandingshypnosis.com.
Okay.
And on that front page, you can schedule a free 20-minute consult. You click the button, it brings you to the scheduler, and you look at the available days and times and see what fits you. And if you ever find like your schedule's not working with mine, you can always email me. My email is on the website. Reach out to me and let me know what your schedule is like. I try to be flexible so we can work something out.
And they could be anywhere, right? Because you do virtual. So they could be in any country. They could be
England. I've worked with people in England. Yeah.
All right. And you're gonna send me those sites. We're gonna put them in the podcast notes so people can reference them. Thank you for doing this. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with before you get going?
Yeah, thank you for having me. And thank you to all the listeners and everyone watching. I really appreciate your time, because time is our most valuable currency. Once it's spent, we can't get it back. So I think it's important that people take time for themselves, because so many people don't realize how important they are and how much value they hold. And especially going into a new year, if you do want to have a new resolution and you're not sure, maybe just work on valuing yourself more and seeing your self-worth. Whether you need hypnotherapy or anything or not, just focus on you as a person and finding your value and doing good things for yourself. And like I said, I was just going to say, you can go to my website, innerstandingshypnosis.com, if you want to reach out for a consult or have any questions.
That is certified hypnotherapist with experience in past life regression, Reiki master, empath, tarot reader, orgonite maker, Monique Pliakos. I will have all of her contact info in the podcast notes. Thank you for doing this with us again, Monique, and take care and Happy New Year. All right, let's take a little music break now with Amy Scruggs and Love Another Day.
Just a little more money, just a little bit of fame, a little more sunny, and a little less rain. What I want ain't always what I need. Satisfaction ain't always guaranteed. But the sun comes up breathe out. Too much good to complain about anything. Yeah, front porch view in a little land. I've got you holding my hand every night. I thank God when I pray for one more chance to stay. Oh, I just want to stay and love another day. I'm gonna love another day. Yeah.
Love Another Day with Amy Scruggs. You can hear that song on thepathradio.com. Plus, in the podcast notes, I will have links for where you can grab that song for your own personal library. So I do have a lot of music to kick off 2023 here on the show. Of course, you've heard a couple of songs from Amy Scruggs. You're going to hear another one as well. I've also got a special debut from Franklin McKay. And we did a special show back in December, and he's debuting a brand new song. You're going to hear that at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. But now I'd like to get to our next topic, and that topic is auto insurance. More specifically, our experiences with auto insurance. And typically, we like to complain that auto insurance is usually quite costly, depending on a number of different factors. But we must have it. And so we get our auto insurance, and we hope that if we need to use it, it might protect us or help us because we are clients of whatever given company that is insuring us for our vehicles. Now, I'm going to be doing a 2-part series on this because the more I looked into it, the more interesting it got. And I have a lot more content that I want to present. So come the next podcast session in February, I'll do another part on it. For today, I have a guest. Her name is Jess Gurnsey. Now, Jess and her fiance were in an accident, and they were relying on the insurance, in this case, Intact Insurance, to help them out. Now, I haven't spoken to Intact Insurance. What I'm offering today is Jess's story. And, how Jess is giving us her experience and her information having dealt with Intact Insurance. So let's listen to this. It's an incredible story, the things that happen, the things that you would expect to happen that didn't happen, and then, of course, dealing with Intact Insurance on top of it. So here we go. I am welcoming to the show Jess Gurnsey. Jess is going to share her automotive insurance experience with Intact Insurance out in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Jess, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thank you so much. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. You guys are having some bad weather tonight when we're talking about this?
Yeah, it's not the best. We're something like minus 40 outside. It's not very nice.
Ouch. We're bracing. We're bracing for some bad weather here too. So, but hey, it's that time of year, right?
Yeah, we're going to have a white Christmas. It'll be nice.
Right on. So look, Jess, you're going to talk to us about your accident and more importantly, your insurance experience with Intact Insurance. Are you happy with your insurance experience to date?
No, it's awful. It was a disaster. Still a disaster.
Still ongoing. Still a disaster.
Still ongoing.
So I know you're going to explain why you're not happy. But before we do that, I want to make sure I understand the event and so that the listeners understand the event that happened to you at the accident. So we exchanged some notes. So I'm going to just paraphrase from those notes, make sure that I've got this right. You and your fiance were driving from Edmonton back to Calgary in your 2007 Toyota RAV4 when your vehicle was hit. Then, as you were both collecting yourselves, you said this: I remember thinking to myself, I need to get out of the vehicle, but I couldn't move my body out of the vehicle. I looked at my fiance, who still had his seatbelt on, so I didn't take mine off. I called 911. While on the phone with 911, a semi hit us from behind. The operator heard me scream, And so you got hit a second time, Jess?
Yeah, we did. We got hit by a semi, which is insane. It's one of those moments that I don't think I'll ever forget. And I didn't see the semi coming. Apparently, right before it happened, my fiance saw it coming. I'm very glad that he didn't mention anything to me. It was like a split second before it happened, but I'm one of those people that tense up really bad if I see anything coming. So I think I would have been a lot worse off if he mentioned it, or if he was like, "Oh my God," because then I would have been like, "What?"
Were either of you injured, and did the car airbags at any point deploy?
So the only airbags that deployed were the curtain airbags on the driver's side. No airbags on my side went off, and no front airbags had gone off either, which was really interesting because I know that when I hear of accidents, I'm like, oh yes, airbags have gone off, but nothing happened.
Now, did you guys sustain injuries?
Yes, we did. So both of us had gotten concussions. I don't know why I said it so happily. It's not happy, but right. But we both had concussions, whiplash. Immediately after, like, we had glass in our eyes, and I remember spitting like this glass out while I was on the phone. And I think that was one of the things that I like perseverated while I was on the phone with 911. I was like, "There's glass in my mouth." Yeah, and my right shoulder is still kind of messed up, so I've been going to physio. Like, I still go to physio twice a week. I have a big TMJ issue. I've slipped a disc in my jaw.
Wow.
So I am seeing a dental specialist who specializes in TMJ in February for that. But all said and done, like, we didn't break any bones, so we're incredibly lucky.
Still a lot of accident issues, like a lot of injury issues that you've been having to deal with. I want to get some of the dates right here. So the accident happened on August 28th. You reported it to the insurance broker on August 29th. But is it right that the insurance company didn't get the report until September 13th, which would be 16 days after you reported it to your broker?
Yeah.
Do you know why that is?
My best guess is that she was waiting for the formal police report to come in. The constable that we were working with was very relaxed about it, and he was like, "It's fine, just get it to me whenever." So being concussed, we had written like her statements. Well, first off, he didn't send it to us right away, like the police report form. So I had to call a few times to actually get them to email it to us. But my best guess is that she was waiting for all that information to actually send to my insurance company. But
so
that's the best I got.
3 weeks go by, you're still uncertain as to why the stuff hasn't gone through. And at this point, the insurance company, they don't want to move forward because they don't have the report. So they're not really doing anything for you. That's what's going on?
I don't even think they knew anything until September the 14th.
So at some point during the exchange with the insurance or broker, you find out that you don't have collision coverage, only comprehensive, despite believing that you asked for full coverage. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always thought that I had collision coverage because I always said that I wanted full coverage.
Do you find it odd that you wouldn't have had collision coverage?
I mean, I do, but apparently, like, back in the day, I signed something that said that I wanted no collision coverage. So I assume that someone was just like, "Oh yeah, this is the best thing for you because you drive a 2007. But like, I drove an SUV, and SUVs are still like fairly valuable at a 2007. Yeah.
Now, do they offer like any? You know how sometimes they say, "Well, we have voice recordings of our stuff." Did they offer that, or has that been looked at in terms of what you agreed to or not agreed to?
They didn't offer anything, not my brokerage at all. I asked for them, and they were like, "Because we amalgamated with another company, we probably don't have anything." So they're like, "The best we can go from is your actual policies." So nothing was done in that regard. It's fun.
Wow. It's just, just digesting it. So you report this thing to the broker. It takes a lot of time. You don't have the collision coverage that you thought you had. Does the insurance broker offer you any answers on your coverage or why it took so long to report it to the Intact Insurance?
No, she literally
Nothing.
was like, because it was interesting. I think it was maybe 2 weeks before the accident that I wanted to like look at my insurance again, decide like if I wanted a better rate or if I wanted to go with a different company, because I was originally with Mira Insurance and like BrokerLink is my brokerage, and they decided for whatever reason that they were switching to Intact, and I was like, that's interesting. I liked Mira. I think it was Mira Insurance anyhow. I could be lying to you. I think it's Mira.
You don't remember? That's okay. I mean, that's fine. We're not focusing on that insurance. So
regardless, I liked who I had before, and I was like, why are you switching me? But it is.
And that's something that's something that the broker did.
Yeah, that's what the entire brokerage firm did. So they said that they were switching.
So Jess, at some point, an adjuster was assigned to your case and they contacted you on September 14th. You said that a bit earlier, and so you've got your dates down, which isn't bad considering that Intact only allegedly knew about the accident on September 13th. But on this day, one day after Intact Insurance knowing about the accident, you say they were talking to you about selling the car for scraps.
Yeah.
One day, I just want to be clear. One day after the insurance tells you that they know about this, they're already talking to you about selling the car for scraps.
Yeah. So the person that talked to me about that isn't my actual adjuster. It's someone on my adjuster's team. And I've had to go through a lot of the steps to obtain like actual recordings. And so they sent me the recordings this morning and I actually listened back. I've only had a chance to listen to one. And there's a part in this recording where they say that because my vehicle is probably a total loss, I should go ahead and see if I can sell my vehicle for scraps to see if they will take that in lieu of the charges for towing and storage for my vehicle, which is just unfathomable. And to top it off, my adjuster told me that I was basically a liar because no insurance adjuster would say that to anyone. And I have an actual recording of an adjuster telling me that. It's the icing on the cake.
But you're saying it was someone on the team of adjusters. So it wasn't wasn't the adjuster you thought was on your case.
Yeah. So my actual adjuster was busy on September 14th. So It was someone on my adjuster's team that took my statement.
Okay. And I know you mentioned storage and towing, and we're going to get to that because there's a whole other thing to this storage and towing part, I think, to the story. Did you know?
Story, but
it can be, right? Because there's so many moving parts to it and so many different people with Intact Insurance that you're dealing with, it seems. Did you know where your vehicle was for the past 2 to 3 weeks until you spoke to the insurance adjusters on September 13th?
So not until that day, but Intact had no clue where my vehicle was. I had to repeatedly ask the RCMP where my vehicle was, and then the RCMP reluctantly told me where my vehicle was.
What was their reluctance in telling you where your car was?
I have no idea. I think they were just annoyed with me asking them about, like, where could I get the form to submit my police report? Because, of course, like, RCMP is more rural compared to, like, I'm in the city. So when we complete police reports, I just go down to, my local police station.
Right.
But I had no vehicle, so I couldn't go down to, like, Didsbury, where I kind of is where, the accident was being conducted out of, like, the, everything there.
Now, Jess, if the insurance company had gotten the report, how did they not know where the car was?
At that point, on September the 14th, I don't think that the RCMP had even sent them a police report. They're still trying to get a full police report. So
your car's somewhere out there, or was somewhere out there at that point.
It was.
Huh. So now you mentioned to me that your car, and you said this a bit earlier, was at a towing storage facility, but you didn't know that exact location. And there's a cost associated with that. Was the insurance, in this case, Intact, paying for those costs?
So on September the 14th, after I found out how much the cost was, and it was around $1,300 at that point, Intact said, well, first they asked if I gave them my permission to move my vehicle out, and I said, absolutely, 100%, please move it out. Then they said that until liability had been established, like basically saying that yes, I did not hit the semi, which I did not. Neither did my fiance. I wasn't the one driving. But they said until they could determine it, they couldn't move my vehicle. But as soon as they said, yes, this semi did hit your vehicle, then they would move my vehicle out and they would pay for it. And that's what I was left with. Then I kept asking them repeatedly after that, so what are we doing about my vehicle? When can I move it? So I talked to this person on the phone on September 14th. Then I tried calling my adjuster on, I think it was September 16th. And I emailed her on September 16th after I called her. And then I tried to email her on the 18th of September and September 23rd. And I continuously followed up. And it wasn't until October 25th that she gave me an answer.
Okay,
and her answer was that she was going to pay, or they were going to, Intact was going to pay, I think it was $1,300, but that my vehicle had to get out right now. But it's really hard to move a vehicle when there's no door on it. But then by that point, my vehicle apparently had been destroyed. So really
let me get this.
That.
let me get this right. After the conversation with the Intact insurance adjuster, you have a hard time reaching her again. You call and send an email on September 16th, then again on September 23rd, but you don't hear back from someone until sometime in October. When you get a voicemail message that they're looking into having your vehicle towed somewhere, and the storage towing fee being due. Is that correct?
I think I talked to someone a little bit before then. My adjuster called me, I think sometime late September, early October, and she said she was going to talk to her manager, but never actually followed up with me again. I don't have the precise date because I was literally getting into an Uber going to physio.
Right.
But that is one day that she called me. And other than that, my adjuster would not talk to me on the phone, or I would reach other adjusters like on their team. And I would ask them like what we're doing about my vehicle. And they would always be like, we've left notes for your adjuster. And I would leave voicemails and emails.
So Intact's not really returning your calls. You're getting a hold of multiple different people. Everybody says they're leaving notes. You're not getting clear answers. And time is ticking. At any point, was their fault determination discussed by Intact Insurance with you?
They said that they're still determining it.
Like right now, it still hasn't been determined.
I got hit by a semi, my fiance and I did, and they're still determining who's at fault.
What are they waiting for?
They're waiting for the full police report.
We're almost at the end of December 2022.
Oh yeah. No, believe me. I'm very unhappy with this entire ordeal, and I get very stressed out about it. But I don't know. And I've even tried to escalate the matter to the manager. So I tried to talk to my adjuster's manager, who didn't answer. So then I went to his manager, and then she basically said that they're probably going to do nothing for me, and said that my adjuster would talk to me every second day, which she doesn't do.
Now, this is the second adjuster's manager, right? Because you had you got moved to a second adjuster, right?
So this is the same, this is my actual adjuster. But my adjuster has her manager, and then her manager has a manager. So It's confusing without dropping names. I don't want to drop
Is there anyone at Intact Insurance you haven't talked to?
I don't know. There's probably someone. I've even talked to like the home insurance people, because anytime that I press 0, it's like, hello, home insurance. And I'm like,
Right.
hi, the home insurance people are lovely. They're nice. Anytime I've said hi, they're like, hello, you've reached the wrong department. We'll transfer you.
So as I'm reading your story, you also say that leading up to October 25th, and I'm throwing the dates out there because timeline is really important here. Leading up to October 25th, when you finally reach your adjuster, you had called and emailed and reached someone other than your own adjuster, but didn't quite have the information you needed. It just seems like this is like a continual thing where you call, it's a different adjuster, you don't have the information you need, you have to call again, or they're going to call you, but they don't call you. Does that sum up like a lot of the exchange?
Oh, yeah. And then they tell me that my adjuster will call me and she never does. And I feel like she just dodges me and my calls.
And now you have a bill at a storage facility?
I mean, there is a bill. It's very interesting because there should also, so my vehicle was destroyed, right?
I was gonna, so yeah, I have a question about that.
I'll get more into the bill once we talk about my destroyed vehicle. It'll make more sense when I talk about that.
So, all right. So I'm trying to follow the timeline here. So the next thing you told me, you said that you found out on October 25th from Intact Insurance that A, the insurance would no longer be covering storage fees. B, this is where people need to pay attention. Your vehicle was destroyed after being sent to the abandoned vehicles program, despite you having claimed it, although you were unable to make it out there to see it and collect your belongings due to personal circumstances. So you're no longer covered on storage fees, and your vehicle gets destroyed along with whatever personal belongings you had in there without being able to recover. Is that correct? Okay, before Jess tells us whether her vehicle was actually destroyed for real completely, let's hear from one of our friends at the podcast, Recipes at My Table.
Recipes at My Table is a work of family, love of food, and sharing of stories. The stories keep the memories alive and make every day a party in my kitchen. Join me for the sharing of traditional Italian recipes and so much more. Visit me at www.recipesatmytable.com.
Okay, let's get back to Jess, who's just about to tell us, did her vehicle actually totally get destroyed while in the care of her insurance company? So you're no longer covered on storage fees, and your vehicle gets destroyed along with whatever personal belongings you had in there without being able to recover. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's just so ridiculous. Sometimes I just kind of laugh at how messed up it is. Like, I just don't know what else to do.
And so how, I think everybody's jaw ought to be dropped when you say your vehicle got destroyed. So how does the storage fees work out with this? Like, there's no vehicle.
Right. And so I've been expecting, so this is the really strange part. So I've been expecting a bill just to kind of slide into my house somewhere. And I had to go update my license on my birthday because I'm a December baby. And when I went to go update my license, I should have been having like a bill for the abandoned vehicles program. But as soon as I found out that my vehicle was sent to the abandoned vehicles program, because I did not get a letter in the mail being like, hello, your vehicle sent to the abandoned vehicles lot, you need to come retrieve it or we're going to destroy it. I emailed the program and I was like, hello, this is everything. And I basically went on a little monologue. There were apparently no fees for my vehicle being destroyed, and there usually are. So far, I have not had to pay fees for my vehicle being destroyed. And so far, no fees pertaining to the storage of my vehicle have been sent to my house. So I don't entirely know when that...
So they exist, you're just not certain if they're coming or not.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm a little confused about what or when.
You have no car.
Exactly.
All right. So look, if I understand your story correctly, as you wrote it to me, as of December 10th, over 3 months since the accident, your car has been literally destroyed. You don't have an insurance settlement. You're not being helped with the initial storage fees as you were told you would be. You also may owe additional fees associated with the abandoned vehicles program. Intact Insurance did receive photos of the vehicle from the towing company, but you have not seen them as yet. And you're still having challenges receiving regular updates and communications from Intact Insurance, despite arranging to get them. Is that where you're at?
That is where I'm at, except Intact did finally send terrible quality photos of my vehicle. Finally.
And when did that happen?
I think it was, I wrote it down here. I think it was very late on the 10th, actually.
Oh, all right. So on December 10th, you finally get photos. So
that was after emailing them saying, can I have the photos that you just sent to me? And another email saying that you have them finally.
It's hard to believe this entire scenario. It sounds like a horrible ordeal. And I have to ask again, have you reached out to the broker for any help?
So I talked to my broker in November, and she's the one who kind of started talking to my adjuster again in November. I think it was November 9th, trying to get everything moving about the police report and things like that. So we've talked. I just don't think anything's happening.
Jess, in all of this, who do you blame, or who do you find? Where does your frustration lie with? Is it with the RCMP report? Is it with Intact Insurance? Is it with the broker? Is it with the storage facility? Where is your greatest pain point, or what gives you the most anxiety out of all this?
I have a little bit of anxiety everywhere because of this, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of anxiety because the RCMP didn't report the accident to 511, so I couldn't find out any information about the accident right away, which is something that I felt was important to myself and for my personal healing. I haven't driven since the accident. I don't know when I will or if I will. Hopefully I will one day. But in terms of insurance, I'm frustrated with my broker, and not my broker specifically, but BrokerLink as a whole. And I'm frustrated with Intact. I feel like my entire claim has been mishandled. It took 2 months for me to get any audio recordings to prove that I am not a liar, saying that, yes, an adjuster did tell me to sell my vehicle for scraps, which is crazy.
So their own audio recordings prove what you've been saying all along.
Yes, I've only listened to one, but
did you get an apology?
No. You've gotten nothing.
Now, is it true that they blocked you on social media as well?
Oh yeah, they blocked me on Twitter.
You asked them too many questions, did you?
I mean, I just said that they were a terrible insurance company because I think that they are. And then I also said that they're taking a very long time with my insurance claim. And I stated facts about what's happening with my own insurance claim, and then they blocked me. So if they want to block me because I'm saying facts about what's happening in my own life, so be it. That's their own prerogative.
What do you plan on doing next? I mean, you're almost over 3 months on this. What do you plan on doing next?
I mean, I plan to hold them accountable. I plan to transcribe every single word of the audio recordings. That way I have a piece of it. They didn't really give me any part of those audio recordings that I can download, so I will likely record the recordings, as weird as that sounds, but I have them. Because what else are you going to do with them? They apparently disappear after 30 days, so I don't want to lose them.
Wow.
And I'll just keep making sure that I'm on top of everything and making sure that my adjuster knows that I am not going anywhere, because I'm not. And I think that's what, we as consumers of insurance have to make sure that we do, is stay on top of things and make sure that our adjusters know that. Because I think people think they can walk all over us. I don't know a ton about insurance, but in a short amount of time, I have become well-versed about it.
But you really don't know when this will end.
I have no idea. I'm very frustrated, and I want to stop dealing with this. Like, my fiance and I have already bought a new vehicle. It's insured under his name. I do not drive it.
It's not with Intact Insurance, is it?
It is not. It's not with Intact. I will never go with Intact again. And I'm going to keep telling Intact that they should hopefully pay for the belongings that I lost in the vehicle that was destroyed, because if it wasn't for the negligence of my adjuster, I would still have the vehicle.
So Jess, I'm hoping you'll keep in touch with us and let us know how this whole thing concludes. When it does conclude, I'd love to give everybody an update. I do want to thank you. It's an incredible story, and I know it's probably hard to tell. And I know when you were sending me the notes, it was emotional at times for you to write down your story. But I do wish you and your fiance well. I hope you get some resolution to this as you explore whatever avenues are available to you. Folks listening, it does sound like a nightmare story, but thank you for sharing it. Thanks for, just letting people know your experience and how that went. And please take care, and I hope you'll come back.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I hope that this doesn't happen to anyone else. And I hope if you're with Intact, I hope your experience has been better, and please switch insurances.
Well, that is an incredible story with Jess and Intact Insurance. Now, hey, Intact Insurance, if you hear this and you'd like to respond, you want to talk, send me an email, tms@guidoprino.com. I'd be happy to do a follow-up with you and learn more about the story, or maybe you can help Jess out. If anybody else has a story, an insurance story, or anything similar with a service, again, by all means, please send me an email at tms@guidoprino.com. So TMS is for the monthly social, tms@guidoprino.com. And we'll see what your story is all about. Now, I hope to have updates from Jess in the future, and I'm hoping to have some additional insurance segments on our next show. Now, let's take a break from this. Let's get back to some music with Amy Scruggs and What If It All Goes Right?
What if that road that you're taking is a dead end? What if love leaves you all jaded and broken? What if that limb breaks your climbing out on? Yeah, what if it all goes wrong? But what if it all goes right? What if it all works out? What if the stars line up and good luck rains down? What if you chase your dream and it changes your whole life? Yeah, what if it all goes right? What if that road is a beautiful slow drive? What if that love ends up lasting a lifetime? What if that limb holds you oak tree strong? What if this time nothing goes wrong? What if it all goes right? What if it all works out? What if the stars line up and good luck rains down? What if you chase your dream and it changes your whole life? your dream, and it changes your whole life. Yeah, what if it all goes right? What if it all goes right?
What if it all goes right? Thank you very much, Amy Scruggs. You can hear that on thepathradio.com. Plus, check out the podcast notes. I will have links back to Amy Scruggs where you can get that song and get it in your personal playlist. Thank you again so much, Amy. All right, we're going to end the January show with something I've never done before, and that is a segment that actually aired on thepathradio.com. I'm going to play that in its entirety. This segment was an exclusive interview with multi-billboarding artist Franklin McKay. He did a pre-release of his new song called This Ain't the End in December, and this interview aired on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And the interview looks at the song and some of the history behind the song and who it's dedicated to, the backstory, if you will. And I agreed that we would air this in January, as he's actually now released the song to all radio stations. So let's go listen to the new song from Franklin McKay called This Ain't the End. And that's going to take us out for this January. Hope to see you in February. Thank you for listening. Take care, folks. Here is Franklin McKay's exclusive interview on thepathradio.com and his new song, This Ain't the End. You're listening to The Path Radio Mix online. Welcome to The Path Radio, your free internet radio station. This is an exclusive broadcast segment and Christmas special on thepathradio.com, brought to you by The Monthly Social Podcast, available on themonthlysocial.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Merry Christmas, everyone, and thanks for tuning into this Christmas special. I am your host and Chief Entertainment Operator, Guido Perino, and here to share this exclusive interview to thepathradio.com with six-time billboarding singer-songwriter Franklin McKay. Franklin has been on the charts with hits like More Than a Memory, Destiny, This Christmas, Someone, Invincible, and I'll Lift You Up When You Are Down, and he is certainly here today to do that for us. On December 17th, Franklin's new song, This Ain't the End, was aired exclusively here on thepathradio.com as a pre-release. The official release will be in January 2023. Here today on thepathradio.com, I have an exclusive interview with Franklin to talk about the story behind his latest single release, This Ain't the End, and then we will have a listen to the new song, which is smack full of good vibes, a rocking solo, and fueled by some powerful vocals. Now, let's get to it. I'm welcoming to our internet radio home, six-time Billboard charting artist, Franklin McKay. Franklin has been busy working on a new song, and he's here to introduce it right now as a pre-release on our station. Join me as we find out a bit more about the special release, and there is a story behind it. Franklin, welcome to The Path Radio. How are you?
Hey, Guido. Thanks for having me. Good to be back.
Yeah, good to hear your voice on here. It has been a while since we caught up with you. What have you been up to this past while?
Just, trying to work on new music and been just, getting this song, as you said, worked on it and got it ready to go and in time for Christmas, and pretty excited about it. And I think it turned out really well.
So, look, I got to admit, I have some mixed emotions about what we're going to talk about next. I'm excited that you're here to talk about your latest project, but at the same time, I'm a little bit sad. But then I'm also inspired, hopeful, thankful. Right now, the listeners are probably thinking I've gone mad, but they'll just have to trust me as we navigate through our chat here today. And you said, hey, I've been working on my music. I've been doing stuff in between. You have a new song. Give us the title.
So the new track is called This Ain't the End. And essentially it's a tribute song to a good friend of mine that passed away this past summer, Mike Dugas. I just felt like I wanted to do something to honor his legacy, and to provide his family with something that they could also share in his legacy with me. And so yeah, I worked on the song with Harry over the summer. This was an idea that was developed like a few years back. Never got released. We kind of reworked some of the lyric, obviously, and at the end of the day, it just felt like the right song to go with the big energy and the power, because Mike was a good guy who was always embracing the positive sides of life, and he liked rock music. And so essentially, I think as opposed to doing a ballad or something that invoked tears, I thought it was better to sort of do a song that celebrated his life.
From the heart, Franklin. You mentioned Harry. For the listeners, Harry, who are you referring to?
Yeah, so my co-writer on this track, Harry Hess, I do a lot of my songs with him. He's a great writer, great producer. So yeah, we really came together on this track, worked really, really hard. And I'm just very, very pleased with it. I think it turned out, amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, we're gonna listen in a bit. So you mentioned about Mike Dugas, and I had the privilege of knowing Mike for a short while back in university. But still, in that short while, he left a lasting impression of compassion and kindness, and those are two qualities that I wish the rest of the world could catch up on sometimes. But there's a lot out there. But Mike certainly had that. For folks, Mike Dugas passed away on July 24th, 2022. Services were held for Mike in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Precious Blood Cathedral. And Franklin, I remember exchanging texts with you when we learned about Mike's passing. And I know you immediately started to recall some fond memories that you had with him. And look, what hit you hard about Mike's passing, and maybe what was one of those memories you had?
I think just the fact that, when you lose somebody that you care about and love, especially somebody that, you've been friends with your whole life, it really puts the perspective of our own mortality on the table. It, sort of evokes emotion of obviously you go through the grief process, and you reflect on all of the good times that you've had. And essentially, I think it's just, there's a hole that gets created in your life when you lose people you love, that, the memories are there to, help you through it. But at the end of the day, that hole never gets filled because you lose the person. And, so I think with this track, there's a lyric that, don't forget to send a message from the other side. I know that we'll be meeting, so there's no need for goodbyes. I feel very strongly about that lyric and about that purpose. I plan on seeing Mike and, and my mom and, people that I've lost that I love again. And, my faith comes into, the song as well. So, I guess it's just the world changes when you lose people you love. It's never the same. And for people who have lost people they love, they get it. And for people who haven't, it's a process to go through, because like I said, the world changes. So, and I just remember, a lot of the fun times growing up and playing video games till 4 a.m. and trying to beat levels. And Mike was a super funny guy, and, biggest heart you'd ever meet in a person. And, so yeah, it hit me pretty hard. And I just wanted to do Mike justice with the song, keep him alive in our hearts, keep him alive through the music. And until, I see him in, the other side, essentially.
You hit on something. Mike did like to joke around, and I can see his smile and his laughter. Sometimes when he would tell a story, there is a story called the 10 plate. You want to share that with us?
Yeah, Mike had, like, there was not many people that had his, wit, and he was fast on the draw, and he was funny. He was just generally a super funny guy, and he'd always have these one-liners that you would just kind of like do a double take and like, what? And then you'd like process it, and you'd start laughing because it was super funny. So one time we were in the mall, I think we were like 16 or something. And, kids, and it was summer, and this bodybuilder guy walks through the mall, and Mike looks at him and says, look at 10 plates. And I'm like, what? And then I caught it, like I caught his meaning, and I started laughing. So what he was doing was he was essentially saying the guy was showing off his muscles. And, you picture the little cartoons with the big muscle guy with the big, the bald head and the mustache in the cartoon. And he goes and he lifts those weights with like, 10 plates, the big plates on the bar. So that's what he meant. Instead of calling the guy a muscle guy, he's like, look at 10 plates, right?
Right. And then
like, that's the stuff he would do, and it was hilarious.
And he'd throw in look at him.
Yeah. He just that was his trademark. Okay. Whenever you'd see him, he'd have his hand out, he'd have a huge smile, and he'd be like, look at him. And that was his calling card. So yeah, I mean, when he walked into a room, the guy, brought a big smile. He brought energy, positive vibes, and, made everybody laugh. So definitely, the world lost a good one, Yeah.
Franklin, earlier you talked about one of the lines in the song, and the first part of that line, don't forget to send a message from the other side. If Mike Dugas was sending you a message right now, what do you think it would be?
It'd be something funny. He'd be making me laugh and kind of nudging me. Yeah, look at him. Don't worry about it. See you again. Essentially, yeah. I think people, our loved ones, do send us messages. I think you have to be really paying attention, and I think you have to have your heart open, and I think you have to listen. And we get so caught up in life and our importance of what seems important at the time, but in the bigger picture, in context like this, was it really that important? So essentially, I think we just have to listen and have an open mind and open our hearts. And yeah, I do believe that, I'm 100% confident my mom sends me messages, and I get them. So if you're listening out there, Mom, I get your message, and, same to you, Mike.
You're giving me the chills there, Franklin. Look, I know you shared this song with Mike's family. You've been in touch with them throughout your writing process. How important was that to you, that you did that?
Yeah, I mean, I remember the phone call. I spoke to Mike's mom back in the summer. And, I had mentioned to her that I'd love to do a song in his memory. And so, yeah, I don't normally share the process. I mean, I shared, idea, lyric idea, artwork idea, like the whole journey, which is, kind of something you don't normally do because, people sometimes can get attached to a certain idea. And then if you move in a different direction, it's like, oh, I really like that one. So, but yeah, I tried to share the process of how it, how the writing went, how the lyric went, and how the changes went, pre-production, during production, post-production. And she told me that they loved the track. They were super happy with the way it turned out. And like I said, from the get-go, it was in my heart of hearts that it had to be a track that was powerful, that lifted spirits, that represented, energy and hope, and and I think we captured that with this track. So, and I think Mike would be proud of the track as well, because essentially I knew what he liked musically because I hung out with him a lot. So, I think at the end of the day, this is a good representation of, of Mike's energy and with, my, ability with Harry just to sort of capture that and try and, do him justice. So I hope we've done that.
Yeah, I've certainly enjoyed listening to the song, Franklin. I think that you really captured the spirit of Mike throughout the entire song, the energy, the fantastic solo in the middle, your powerful vocals. And we're going to listen to it here shortly. And hopefully his family has had a chance to listen to it on the show and enjoy it. But before we do that, Franklin, is there anything else that you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, I mean, I think the song, was written with the intention of representing Mike. I know, their family had some bad news. Literally a month later, Richard Poirier passed away, which was Mike's first cousin. And I played hockey with Rich as well.
Right.
Another great guy that, the world lost. And so, I say this, I think this song could be applied to, that's the gift of music, is that it can help and represent, for everybody. So, I think it applies to everybody who's lost somebody they love. And, essentially, I think that's what Harry and I were trying to accomplish with this track is, it was a big task. You want to make sure you get it right. And, there's a lot of pressure in that has to be a certain end result that has impact and that you're completely happy with. And you feel you did, the best job possible for the message and the person that you're trying to represent. So, just a shout out to, Richard's family as well, because that's, like I said, Mike's first cousin and, another great guy. So, I just wish there's sometimes more you can do, but at the end of the day, that's, every day is a gift. And this is just further acclamation of that, right?
Let's go enjoy the gift, Franklin. Let's go have a listen to the song, folks. You know what? I love introducing songs, but I feel like you should do this one, Franklin.
Well, sure. Guido, thanks so much. So this is a shout out to the Dugases. This Ain't the End on the Path Radio.
The world can be unforgiving. Gotta take it all in stride. Life ain't always easy. It's a roller coaster ride. When the questions go unanswered and you feel like giving up, there's no rhyme or reason why only the good die young. Now time keeps moving on. The one thing that I know, that there ain't no mistaking that heaven set you free. There's no looking back, your memory's not forsaken, 'cause this ain't the end. Leaving nothing on the table, you gave it all you had. The clock is always ticking. It's a one-way ride to the end. Don't forget to send a message from the other side. I know that we'll be meeting, so there's no need for goodbyes. Now time keeps moving on. The one thing that I know,
That is Franklin McKay with his new single, This Ain't the End, in memory of longtime friend Mike Dugas, here on thepathradio.com. You can hear the replay of this segment on themonthlysocial.com in the January 2023 episode. The song will also be available on iTunes and all streaming platforms January 1st, 2023. Our thoughts are with anyone who has lost a loved one and is remembering them this holiday season, or at any time, and as Franklin sings, this ain't the end. Peace, and thanks for listening, folks. You're listening to The Path Radio Mix online.